In this video, we're going to focus on part 18 of the Coinmarketcap, and what we're going to do now is to fine-tune our scroll. So if I scroll like this, go out, and there we are, this works. But if I would be, for example, here, you can see this is June 13, and then if I scroll down now to zoom in more, because I'm with my mouse here, the scrolling will only affect the other side. And if I go up here, you can see here the scroll of the zoom out will only affect the other side. However, once I'm a little bit here, now it will scroll again both sides, and of course here we have this, and have that. You can see here it will stay always in October 26. And if we can also zoom in completely, once we're here, and then we want to zoom out again, there we are. So let's start to look how we can create this zoom functionality. So this is part 18, and in here what we have to solve now is our zoom in and our zoom out. But for example, if I would be zooming in from this point, I want to maybe zoom in here and then move this one to that side and not lose our data here, which makes sense. Same if it would be here, I don't want to lose the data wherever it was be, for example, in November. So how can we do this? Well, let's start to work on this. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at this part here. What we have to do now is, because once we zoom in, our segments are starting to change as well. Because what we want to do is understand where the position of our cursor is. Based on that, we could say, I want to zoom in, but I want to only zoom in everything within this area, and that side, for example, could be declined. So let's start to look at how we can do this. To do this, we must understand our position, and our position must be converted into what we call one of these ticks here. So to do that, we're going to do the following. We need to figure out our mouse wheel offset, basically where we're located. And just a quick note, I noticed I put in here mouse wheel as a function. Apparently this is not the right function because it's deprecated, and it's called now wheel, and this supports every browser. So if you didn't do that, make sure you do that one. So then what I'm going to do here next is we're going to say here, I'm going to create here constant, and let's call this a time stamp. This timestamp will be basically based on our mouse wheel. Basically, we can say here mouse wheel dot offset. So let me just show you what this really is, so we can start to see what is our position here. So we say offset, and this is offset X, of course. Sorry. So we're going to grab this, put it in here. Let's save, refresh. Open up developer tab. All right, mouse wheel is not defined. Oh, sorry, that's not in here right away. Well, hold on, I need to put this on mouse wheel. And if I scroll down, I think it's in the function wheel. Oh, I already adjusted it. Sorry, that's the one I was referring to. If you didn't do it, if you put in here mouse wheel as event listener, make sure it's a wheel. It doesn't recognize it anymore. Because this is, of course, our parameter, so it doesn't need it. So now, if I zoom in here, you can see here what we get is the pixel amount. And that is all fine, but I don't want the pixel amount. I want to know, if I zoom in on this one, that I get here the day, whatever it would be, for example, 29 July. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to say here now the following. I'm going to say here chart.scales.x and .get value for pixel. And basically I'm going to convert, oh, not here, sorry. That is the wrong one. It should be a timestamp. For get value for pixel. And here of our mouse wheel. The moment we do this, we can save this, and we can just grab this one here, put that in here, save, refresh. Now if I zoom in, you can see here we get a timestamp in milliseconds. Here's the problem. This here, of course, is not a way to check where we are exactly as on the ticks, because the ticks will be based on the date, and specifically the date at midnight. So that means that I need to reset whatever the date would be, reset the time to this. If, for example, August 21, it must be reset to August 21 midnight. So what I'm going to do now is, let's see, in here. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say a constant. I'm going to say the day time stamp. Basically, we're going to now grab the day of that item, and that will be equal to new date, because we're going to create a date object, and we're going to just select here the time stamp. So then, if I save this, we could do another console log, but now in this case, I just move them down here, and then I'm going to delete this part here and grab this, put it in there. Oh, save, refresh. Then if I scroll, you can see here we get the time even in minutes, hours, and seconds, which is all great, but of course not what we need because we cannot compare this. However, we're getting close to it. So what I want to do next is I want to set the hours here on 0. So I say dot set hours, and then we're going to put in here 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, and 0 milliseconds. And once we do this, we can save this. And then what I want, refresh. Alright, scroll that. You can see now we get the exact date here. So once we have this, we can maybe even break this down. And what I want now is this, of course, to be compared with the index of. We're going to search now for that, but I'm going to give this a proper constant. So I'm going to say here our scroll point. Basically, that's where our X is located, or which item are we located. So then what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say here dates dot index of. So we're going to search for that. And what I'm going to do then here is basically grab here the timestamp. So I want to do this. Save. Let's console log this and see if we get that. Scroll. There we are. Now you can see if I'm here, we should be very close. Oh, there we are. If I go all back here, we go to negative. Alright, interesting. Oh, alright. So we have to watch out here. One is, of course, our X or the Y scroller. So that's 380. Let's search for 380. 380 is this one here, the mouse wheel delta Y. I'm going to remove that. Alright, so now if I scroll, you can see here it is moving and we get all the indexes here. Absolutely phenomenal. And we should have here, the last one should be 200, something like that. There we are, 199. That is correct. So now we have this, and what we need to do next is start to compare this. So to do this, we need to go in the next part here. That is, let me double check. I guess it's in here. And what I'm going to say here now in the zoom in, we have this part here and we have this config with the dates. This is the automatic one, but this one here needs to be modified. So I'm going to modify this. And what we're going to do now is, well, we can modify this in eternity. Or sorry, no, I think we can leave this one here. And the reason why, if it's negative or if it's going below 0, we shouldn't even touch that one. But oh, what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to say here if, and then I'm going to grab here the dates dot index of, and I'm going to grab here the min, so which is the index of that one. And then if that is the case, if that will be larger or equal to the scrolling point here, and what I want to do is I want to give it a margin of 4 or 5 items. And the reason why is that if you would scroll here, you want to make sure that this here, if it's within this area here with 5 points, don't do any movements from here, but only do movements on this side, which makes sense. So let's see, we have this here. If the scroll point -4, so if the index min would be larger or equal to scroll point with -4, in that case, then what you can do here as well, we also put another condition here, and if dates dot index of min value, then we're going to say it will be smaller to scroll point. In that case, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say chart dot config dot options scales dot x dot min equals the min value. So basically I want to maintain and don't want to move anymore the value. So maintain stable on this side while the max value will be increased or decreased. So if I save this, refresh. And now if I scroll, alright, but if I scroll here, as you can see, if we go up, this works. But of course you might say, well, hold on, this is the end here. So alright, let's go here, then say here, there we are. Although my mouse, sadly enough, is very, very sensitive, so that will make it slightly harder. You see here, if I'm working here very carefully, oh, there we are, and we get some errors here. We get an error. Let's solve this error here. You can see here the canvas gradient is beyond, which is outside of this range, 0 to 1, so it's -1. Let's solve that one as well. Go up here, and that's the add color item. What we did here is the shift, remember. I'm going to copy just the entire code here, and just say if shift would be below 0, set 0. Let's save that, refresh. The reason why this happens is because we're now zooming in such a level that the gradient color is starting to change. So do this, there we are, and now you can see here, and then if we go up, this keeps it nicely. So once we're zoomed in here, of course these points should be red. However, what happens here is of course a whole mess as well, so let's put that back. Alright, so that looks fine. Let's try it one more time. If I zoom in here very carefully, you can see here we still are on 14th June. When I zoom up, or when I zoom out again, we might want to maintain the zoom out here still consistent, or the we don't want to have a zoom out when we zoom out and we are still here with our mouse. But if we're here, we can zoom out on both sides. But when we are here, we might want to zoom out only on that side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another item in here. Let's scroll down. But now in this case, I'm just going to copy the code that is in here. We can just duplicate this, enter, and I'm going to say here max, and then we're going to say here now the scroll point will be max. So the max value is basically the opposite, because then we're going to check, because the max, oh, they don't want to do that, sorry about that. The max is basically based on this point here, and so we cannot be beyond the max, so we need to be here below the max. So if the max is larger, or sorry, smaller than the scroll point, and then maybe we could say here is at minus, or I guess plus. In that case, we have this will be equal to max scroll point, and then we say here will be max, and this will be max, and then what I want to do here, this must be bigger or equal to scroll point. Save, refresh. So let's see if I scroll here. Alright, if I scroll down, no, let's move it a bit here, go up. Alright, so that didn't work, but maybe it's on here. No, something is apparently not working, but that's alright, we're going to figure that out. So we have this one here, and what I want to do next, which is this one here, is going to duplicate this, but exactly the opposite logic here. I'm going to put that in there. I'll comment out that one. Oh, sorry, we don't have to comment out that. This is for a 0 point or maximum value. So then I'm going to just paste all this in here, and I'm going to say here the following. Let's see here what we can do. And we can see here if the date is that, I guess this can be consistent. And then the same with the other one. Let's save that and see if this truly works. Alright, let's zoom in. There we are. Alright, go out. As you can see here now, if I zoom up or down very carefully, it will stay stable. But if I go here, as you can see here, because we are more than 5 points, then it will zoom out, including that part. If you do here, it's full. Alright, then the next one here, if I zoom in, and I can see here we have an issue. So let's start to look at this issue. So we have this scroll point here. Let me check. Oh, after some testing or refreshing, apparently it worked. I guess I forgot to refresh. So if I refresh, you see here, zoom in, zoom out. Alright, and in here, let's go back here. I guess it didn't work, or does it? It does apparently here. So let's go 17 October. You can see what is really happening. It feels like it's moving here, but the numbers are staying consistent. Look at that. You can see here, because the scale is changing a little bit. So that is the reason why I thought it was zooming out or zooming in. But the values on the chart itself are still the same, as this peak here is still the same. So now we have this. There's still one issue here. If I zoom in, now I want to zoom out, we're now what we call, well, we can call it a grid lock. The reason why is we lock ourselves in the center, because now we are, both conditions are met. However, in this case, I want to zoom out, and now I'm not allowed to zoom out. So how do we solve this? Well, you could, by some trick, by moving here somewhere, it will work eventually, but it's kind of buggy. So what I want to do is I want to block or remove the grid block here, which is basically all of these if statements here. So how can we do this? What we're going to do is, if we zoom in here, and I think this would be more than enough if you see 7 data points. That's absolutely phenomenal. So that would mean that you have 7 days. What you can do is a condition, if it is 7 days or less, in that case, the zoom or this blocking of this zooming function will be removed. Because this is basically the blockage of it. And it's only on this part here. So what we're going to do here is just going to create a very simple if statement on this part here. So we have a lot of if statements here, I know, but we can always refactor it, but I think it's not that important for now. Get it working or getting it function is more important. So what we're going to do here, I want to do an if statement, but this if statement will be based on days, because we're working with the scale of the days. So we can just say here, if everything is below 7 days, in that case, we want to not activate this functionality here. So how do we do that? Well, because we know it's days, we can convert it into milliseconds. So what I'm going to do here is, I can say here, first of all, I'm going to say constant. Let's say week milliseconds. So how do we calculate week milliseconds is basically this. The milliseconds is per day. It's a fixed amount, so that's why we can just use this hard coded. It's, let's see, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Let's say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Alright. So that is almost 8.6 million items, as you can see. Or even more, I guess. It's even more. It's 86 million seconds. Milliseconds. So now we have this. What I want to do is then, of course, multiply by 7. And what we're going to do then is we're going to say here, we're going to get a constant. And this constant will be the range between basically the min and the max. So we have the max minus min. And let's do a console log for this. Because then we'll calculate the dates. The last date compared to the earliest date, or latest date compared to the earliest date. Copy this. Save. And then refresh. And then if I scroll up only and zoom out, then it will work. You can see here the seconds. So if I go all the way down, if I scroll up, you can see here, apparently we are that amount here. I have no idea how much that is, but that's alright. Doesn't matter. Most important one is that we are matching this condition here. And what I'm going to do now is just very simple. Because if I zoom in here, you can see here now, it doesn't work, and apparently it's this amount of things. Milliseconds. So I'm going to say here, if weekdays is, or sorry, no, if range of our chart is smaller or equal to week milliseconds. And you can even make this bigger if you want, maybe 100 million, doesn't matter, so another day extra. Or yeah, this, oh, sorry, multiply by 8, doesn't matter so much. And then what we're going to do is, if this is, let's say, larger, the range is larger than the weekdays, is that correct, or is it smaller than? Let me think. Oh, sorry, it's larger, because I want to activate this. So I'm going to cut out this, put it in there. Proper indentation. And just delete the extra space, semicolon, save, refresh. So now I want to zoom in completely. Here we are, zoom out. Alright, interesting. Doesn't work. Let's see here, if this would be, if the range is larger than the weekdays. Yeah, am I correct here? Or maybe I need to change that exactly the different, well, let's see, hold on. Alright, I just solved it. So what was really the issue? Let's zoom in completely. Then apparently sometimes we don't have 7 days only, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or multiple days, like 10 days. So this is the problem, of course, what's happened. This doesn't work like that. And the reason why it doesn't work is because we have more than 10 days, so we should increase this. Let's say 10 days here, or maybe even if there will be 2 weeks, 14 days. In that case, we want to allow or block this part. So what I'm going to do here now, scroll, zoom in all the way in, and then we can zoom out. There we are, all the way in, there we are. And then what I want to do is I want to move that up and down. Nice. We move here up and down, and there we are. So now we have it all completely working, which is absolutely phenomenal. So in the next video, we're going to make one more tiny item, which is to put in a nice picture at the background here, which is very similar to the chart of Coinmarketcap.